All right, in this video, I'm going to show you my process for doing keyword research when setting up a Google Ads campaign. So the first thing you want to do is log into the Google Ads account it doesn't have to be the one that you're going to use to run the actual campaign. You can use any Google Ads account, just log in. And then once you're logged in, you want to go into Tools and Settings and go to Keyword Planner. So the Keyword Planner is going to allow us to get the data on how many people are searching these keywords each month, and it's going to give you suggestions and so on. So you're going to be able to see what you want to target. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be doing it for a law firm in Melbourne that specializes in wills, estates, and probate. So we're going to be looking at what areas within that particular category of law we need to be targeting and how we're going to structure the campaign in the ad groups. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, is set the location. So you would want to select whatever location you are going to be targeting with this campaign. So set that here, type it in, click it, and then once it's here in targeted locations, you're good to go. You can click save. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the keywords, the main keywords that I think are related to the services they offer. So for instance, it's going to be will lawyer. Let's go estate lawyer and probate lawyer. Now, there's a couple of things which are important here in terms of search intent for each of these keywords, which I'm going to cover as well. Now, if you supplement this process with a tool like SEMrush, which gives you data on how to, what people are searching for, like what their intent is when they search these keywords, it's going to help. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to use another tool because if you don't have that tool, then that's not going to be helpful. So I want this video to be useful to everybody, whether you've actually got a SEMrush or a Ahrefs account or whatever. If you don't, I want this to be useful as well. So for the purpose of this video, we're just going to use Keyword Planner. So I've put in the main 3 keywords that cover the 3 different areas I want to target. And now I'm going to click Get Results. So now what's going to happen is it's going to give us the keywords we typed in, the search volume for those keywords, the competition, which is good to know, but I wouldn't bet too much on it. It's also going to tell us the bid range that you're going to have to pay most likely to end up on page 1. And then it's going to give us a shit ton of related keywords as well. Now this list is actually very important for a number of factors. 1, it's going to give us keywords we should be targeting, or at least we should consider targeting. And 2, it's also telling us what Google thinks is related to the keywords we typed in. Now, as we see here, real estate attorney is one of the first few suggestions that it shows up. The problem with that is real estate attorney doesn't have anything to do with estate lawyer at all. That's a completely separate topic. Now, the law firm may offer real estate services, but even if that's the case, you wouldn't want that being in the same campaign or at least in the same ad group as estate lawyer. So it's a very important point to keep this in mind. This list is going to tell you what Google is likely to show your ad for. And so you want to make sure that you add these keywords to a negative keywords list so that you can actually exclude them. Because if you don't, when you put in estate lawyer, Google's probably going to show it for real estate lawyer. And I have seen this happen many, many times as well with other people's ad accounts. So it's important to make a note of this. Hey guys, real quick, if you run a service company and you'd like to add at least $100,000 to $300,000 per year in new business, guaranteed, or you don't pay, just hit the link below to book a call with us and we'll show you exactly how we'll do that for you. Back to the video. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at how many searches the keywords I put in have. And in this case, they have a decent number, up to 1,000, which I consider fine for one city. Because it's just one city, that's a decent amount of search volume, so you'd want to target those. So what I'm going to do is take them, I'm going to copy, and I'm going to open a new Excel file. Okay, so you could theoretically do this with Notepad or WordPad or whatever, but I'm going to use Excel. And what I'm going to do is make separate columns here. And each of these columns are going to contain the keywords. So we've got will lawyer, I'm going to paste in here to remove the formatting. And now I'm going to go here, copy estate lawyer and probate lawyer. And those are going to be the three main categories I'm going to start with, because they each have a decent amount of search volume. I'll just skip that for now. So now I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go down the list. So the first thing that pops up is real estate attorney. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add these to a notepad, and I'm going to take these and I'm going to add all of these to a negative keyword list. So real estate attorney. So theoretically you could add real estate as a phrase, and that should remove this from happening. Now, what you also want to keep in mind is you don't want your ad groups cross-competing with each other. So for instance, if you've got a will lawyer ad, you don't want estate lawyer and probate lawyer showing up for that ad group. You want it showing up for their own ad groups. So theoretically, what you want to do is add those as negative keywords across to the other ad groups. So I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So first of all, let's start with the first process. So we've got here estate lawyer, we've got estate planning attorney. This is suggested and it's got good keyword volume, and let's say this law firm does also do estate planning attorney. So let's add that as now a new column. So basically what each of these columns represent is the ad group that you're going to make. So you want to make the ad group specific to the keyword, so then that way you can make the ads specific to those keywords and contain the particular keyword. So how separated you go with this is going to be very dependent on the keyword volume that you get for each keyword. So theoretically, you can make a ad group for every single keyword, and if the volume is big enough to warrant doing that, then it's worth doing. However, in some cases, let's say for instance we've got estate attorney near me, that's only getting up to 100 searches a month. So realistically, at best, you might get like 10 clicks from that, maybe 20, like at the absolute max, which means you might get like 1 lead, maybe 2 leads off that. So that doesn't really warrant making a separate ad group and let's say a separate landing page and separate ads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take estate attorney near me and I'm going to put it in the estate lawyer ad group. Because somebody searching estate attorney near me, estate lawyer is very, very similar. Now, if estate attorney near me had 1,000 searches a month or more, then I would actually make that as a separate ad group with its own ad and making sure that the keyword is in the ad. But for this case, I don't think it's necessary. So I'm going to group it together. Again, estate lawyers near me, I'm going to add that into the estate lawyers ad group as well. Whoops. So now we can keep going down the list. Will lawyer near me gets up to 1,000 searches, but that's got the keyword will lawyer in it. So I'm going to put that there, and we can theoretically make one of the ads say will lawyer near you or will lawyer Melbourne, for instance. And then that's going to take care of that. Probate attorney can go on to probate lawyer. Let's see what else there is. Estate planning attorney near me, that can go on to estate planning. Now I would put here estate planning lawyer as well. You'll probably find that, that's going to pop up later on somewhere. Probate lawyers near me. Okay, now this is an interesting one. Elder law attorney near me. Now, this depends whether you want to target that particular thing. It would depend how specifically related it is to what they're actually offering. So in this case, I'm going to add it as a separate column, but this would be very dependent on your particular case and whether you actually want to show for that. So what you would need to do, if I was researching this, I would go into google.com and I would search elder law Melbourne, and I would see what actually comes up for this. So what is elder law? Okay, so let's say for instance you didn't actually know and you want to search this up and decide, do you actually want to show up for that keyword? So what you could do is click down all these and see what Google throws up when you search this keyword. So right now we're getting a bunch of elder law related law firms showing up. So let's see what they actually add. What is under elder law? So elder law is encompassing wills, powers of attorney, competency claims and guardianship, challenging competency claims, wills and estate planning, will disputes. So it is covering the similar areas. Retirement planning, aged care. It is covering the similar areas that we are already targeting. So basically what you would do in this case is, if this is your business, you would have to decide whether you want to show for this or not. The other question to ask here is this high search intent? Now, this will not be as high search intent as somebody searching will lawyer if you're specifically going after wills and people who want wills. Same thing with like estate planning. This is a bit more general. However, if you have the budget and you find that it's worthwhile and you want to test this out, then I would recommend testing it out. So what I would recommend doing is make an ad group for elder law, run the ads for a bit, spend a few $100 or $1,000, get a couple of clicks on there, or a few hundred clicks really, and then see, are you actually getting any inquiries? And then are the inquiries you getting what you actually want? Run that for a bit, see what happens. If it's what you want and you find that they're turning into business for the business, they're turning into like clients in this case, then you could keep that running. If they're not, you shut the ad group off, and that's part of how marketing works. You sometimes need to test stuff out. So because this is very similar, I would recommend actually testing this out and seeing if you get the right kind of business that you're looking for. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to add it as a separate column. I'm going to add elder law. Now, elder law is a less a buying search intent than elder law attorney, because somebody searching for elder law attorney is looking specifically for an attorney. Elder law could be someone just looking, what is elder law? So this keyword is much lower buying intent than this one. So I would probably leave this one out for now. I would only come back to this one later once you've tested this out, see if you get the leads you're looking for, and then come back to this. Now we've got property lawyers as the next one. We do not want property lawyers, so I'm going to take that out. So like I said, even if they're offering that service, you don't want it anywhere near this ad group because it's got nothing to do with it. So that's going in the negative keyword. Probate attorney is going to go in probate. And we'd keep going down this list. So now we've got trust lawyers. So that's a different ad group altogether. Now, again, that would depend whether you want to offer that. This firm will. So I'm going to include that, trust lawyers. And that's going to be a separate ad group. So what you would do is you would go down this list, elder law attorney. You could add that because that is higher intent. So see, for instance, like trusts, you would go, well, a trust, somebody searching trusts could mean anything. So unless you have a big budget and you're just trying to get as many conversions as possible, regardless of the cost, I wouldn't start off with a keyword like that because it's too vague. Estate planning lawyer is good and that gets a lot of searches. So I would definitely include that one, which is what I actually typed in. So I was correct in that assessment. Now, what I would recommend you do to make this process easier is just hit average monthly searches and go order it in the amount we did. So we really should have done that from the beginning, but we can still go down this list and then we can eliminate duplicates. So will solicitors gets a lot, so I would include will solicitors. Wills and estates lawyer. Now this one is tricky because it includes both. So what I would probably do in this case is actually make a separate one because it gets up to 1,000 searches a month. So I'm going to make that a separate column entirely and just make an ad specifically for wills and estates lawyer. And then that can go to the main estates page. That's how I would deal with that one, which talks about wills. That's really the best way you can do that. Now, here's another one, succession lawyer. So you probably want to include that, assuming you offer that service and it relates, like I mentioned it earlier. Damn. You go and see if it's related to your business, or I guess you would know if you're running the business. What the hell is going on here? My sheet is glitching out. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so you would go and you'd make sure whether you actually want to offer that, whether that's related to what you're offering. So in this case, again, we could go back to Google, type in succession lawyer, Melbourne, and see what happens. What do we get? Okay, succession planning and estate. Okay, so it's related to estate in this case, obviously. Estate lawyers, succession planning, leading wills, estate, succession planning. So basically it's estate planning. So what I would do is include that keyword because it's getting a good amount of search volume. So it's related, this one is related to business. Now we need to find out, are they all related to business? So this is going to estate planning. So succession planning is related to business succession. So what you want to do is, that would definitely be a separate thing and you want to keep that in mind. So these are all related to business. Let's see if this one works. Okay, that one's not working. It seems that that specific keyword means business succession planning. All right, so this is why you need to go on Google and check that out. So this is specifically talking about business succession. So you want to make sure that you have that as a separate ad group and it goes to a separate page that talks about business succession planning. So we'll chuck that in there. We've got properties lawyer, that's a negative, and we definitely want to include that as a negative because it gets such high search volume. Real estate attorney, I think we've added this one. Basically, I'm going to put the words property and real estate as negatives, and then that's going to eliminate this entire thing. But you can add these here. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you're adding these as negative keywords, you want to ensure that you add them as exact or phrase match because you've got the keywords lawyer and attorney in here. And if you add it as a broad match, it might add lawyer as a broad match negative, and then it just won't show your ad for anything. So you just have to be careful of that. That can happen. So we've got estate attorney near me. So basically you could go down this list and add all of these to the relevant ad groups that we're creating that I'm showing you here. Trust attorney, lawyers that do wills, elder care, property attorney. So that would be a negative again. Attorney for wills, trust lawyer. So I would go down this list. You got living trust attorney. That would be a separate category. And inheritance lawyer would also probably be a separate one. So we'll add that one here and we'll go inheritance lawyer. We'll add that as a separate ad group. So you'd go down the list and do it. Now, the point I wanted to make while sorting them by traffic is that I would go up to the point where one, you're not seeing any new keywords, you're just seeing different variations. And by adding all of the ones we had here as phrase match, you're basically going to take care of them. So if you have enough of them in there and they're all phrase match, you would add them. Residential lawyer, that's a new one we want to add to the negative because that's most likely to do with property. But yeah, so go down the list until you're not seeing any other variations. And also once you hit the point where you're getting 0 to 10. Now this is a very, very long list, and honestly, like I said, I don't think you need to add every single one of these. Some people go through and add every one of these keywords. I honestly don't think that's necessary. I think by having estate planning lawyer phrase matched, you're going to take care of most of like the estate planning keywords. But go down and make sure that you haven't missed anything out. That's what this is good for. Like I showed you how civil, I just noticed civil real estate, so I'm going to take that and include the civil real estate keyword as well as a negative. German inheritance law, I don't know, you'd have to figure out why you'd want to show for that or not. I would probably put that as a negative, honestly. I don't think that that's related in this case. So you'd have German inheritance as a phrase match. You would have AI lawyer robot as a negative in this case. Property easement. So here we go, we're getting some new keywords here. So easement, you don't want that in there. Real estate tenant lawyer, definitely don't want that. Lawyer as executor of a will, that's probably not very high buying intent. Canadian inheritance law, it's interesting that these things keep popping up, but I would add these because these are not related to what we're doing here. International estate lawyer, so you'd want to remove that as well. You'd want the keyword international as a phrase match. Estate planning solicitors, you can add them. Medical power of attorney. So this would be a separate one. If they offer this, which in this case they do, you would want to have that as a separate, again with this. Okay, there we go. So you'd want to go through and, like I said, add them, go through and add all those. Make sure that you've found any different ones that you want to advertise for. In this case, we've got estate tax. Now, in this case, I'm going to exclude that from this. I don't want to show ads for tax. So specifically tax, I'm going to remove from this negative keyword list. Best lawyers for real estate, dealing with property, Medicaid. So yeah, I would go down this list, like I said, do what I've done here, which is, I think you get the gist now of how you want to structure the different types of keyword ad groups for the keywords. You would separate them into these lists here, and you'd add a list for all negatives. Now, what I'll do eventually is copy this, add it into a separate negative keyword list here, and this would be a global list that I'm going to add for this entire campaign. So it's going to block out all of these keywords for this particular campaign, as long as you don't have any property related ad groups, obviously. Otherwise, you would have to add the separate ad groups as a negative keyword list for the ad groups. So once you got that list, that's like your global negative. And then what you can do is have ad group negative lists as well. So for instance, if I've got like the will lawyer ad group, you could add like estate lawyer or estate probate, succession and things like that. Typically, you won't have that problem if you've got all the different ad groups with the different keywords. They usually show up correctly. But sometimes you'll find if you're getting crossovers in the search terms report, then you can add those negative keywords there. Commercial property, I'm going to add the word commercial here as well. So go down that list, make sure that you haven't missed any negative keywords that could pop up, because that's going to prevent you from showing up for keywords that are not related. So it's going to stop wasted ad spend. And then just make sure that you've got all the related keywords that are actually relevant to the services that you're trying to offer. Make sure that you've got all the different ad groups. So we got here a new one as well, testament lawyers. That probably relates to testamentary trust. I'm going to check that and I'm going to add it because they do that as well. So go down the list and, like I said, make sure that you've got all the different categories. And I would go down to the point where you're getting 0 to 10 search volume. So I'll show you what I mean. Here we go. So page 2 already. Only on page 2, we've got 0 to 10 search volume. So at this point, these keywords are basically not even worth dealing with. They're just going to get picked up by the other keywords. Honestly, even an exact match, they still pick up close variations, and you're probably going to find that you show up for all of these as it is. So like I said, go down to the 10 to 100 section, go up to that point, and by that point, you will know that you've had all the relevant ad groups that you need to show for. You've seen all the things that get any sort of significant search volume. And so then you'll have your whole list of negative keywords and your whole list of ad groups with the keywords that you want to add here. So once you've got this list complete, then the next step is you can start making your campaign and your ad groups, which I'm going to cover in a subsequent video.